Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of Inside Career Technical Education. I'm one of the hosts of this program, Ann Baldwin.
And I'm Jim Bologa, the other host, president and CEO of Porter Chester Institute and YTI Career Institute.
Right. Well, we've got a great guest today. I'm so excited. And for those of you that are tuning in to see what career path might be right for you, you know, in the skilled trades, but especially computer technology, we're talking about that. And I have had the pleasure of meeting in person Tom Hogue. And Tom, thank you so much for being with us today.
No, it's my pleasure. Thank you for having me.
You talk about an entrepreneur and perfect example of success when it comes to YTI graduate. Tom is that. So why don't you tell our listeners and viewers a little bit about all the companies that you have started, Tom?
Oh, my goodness. Okay. Well, I will say that it started, I've got a technology company right now doing IT support. I own a data center with that IT support company. And then I've also got a company that does software development and electronic content management. So they're two sister companies working pretty hand in hand. Momentum is my most current. And then, of course, my martial arts studio is Elite Martial Arts.
Wow.
So talk about your transition. Let's go back a little bit. From YTI, what did you study and how have you applied that to your business success?
Great question, Ann. So when I graduated YTI, I can tell you that I started in restaurants, dishwasher, meat cutter, and then a restaurant manager. I wanted to change that career when I saw someone come in and install point of sale touch systems in the restaurant. And it was a computer system in 1993 or 4. And I said, that looks interesting. I wonder what they make. So off I went into YTIville. I will tell you back then, it was definitely different. I mean, we had we had soldering and oscilloscopes, and I could repair the heck out of a VCR. But there really wasn't a computer program per se. Matter of fact, the mouse had literally just come out. So I was learning how to use a mouse. I know, it's crazy. So that's how I started out. I just wanted to change careers. And taking me back to your first question, you said, how did I start at becoming an entrepreneur? Or what did it look like after I graduated?
Well, I guess, really, how did you start as an entrepreneur? I mean, you took those skills. You knew that's what you wanted to do. So you went and got those skills, and look at you now.
Yeah, great question. So I started, entrepreneurship came from getting terminated. So we'll get to that. Sometimes the best thing that can happen is something like that. But I started out as an IT guy. Matter of fact, it was a mock interview at and YTI is a part of the Porter Chester brand. So same technology school, technology specific training. And I can tell you that I was interviewed on a mock interview just so the students could learn how to interview. And the person who interviewed me said, well, we got to hire this guy. So I was fortunate to get hired right out of a mock interview at YTI and started working for the county government. And I'll never forget, I went to my desk and the boss says, there's your computer. Put it together and come see me when you're done. And it was in 2 boxes. Back then you had the big old monitors too. And 2 days later, I went to see him. So it took me 2 days to put a computer together. A fun story, though, it wasn't just a complete imbecile. You had to install 32 diskettes to install Windows back in the day, and another 24 diskettes to install Word.
Wow.
So it took a while, but that's how I started. I was just a regular guy moving up through the ranks, and it just took some years.
What kind of advice could you give to, parents, grandparents, uncles, aunts who might, have, a younger person in their life who might have some interest in technology?
Good question, Jim. So same advice I give my own 4 sons or nephews, nieces is I'm a college dropout. I'll start with that. I did go to Shippensburg University for just 1 year straight out of high school. And I was driving. So I was commuting 50 minutes one way. I was a whopping 18 years old, and I was falling asleep behind the wheel. I was also working full-time job to put myself through college, and I would just fall asleep in class. It was embarrassing. I was I was an A student in high school, and 16th out of my class. But I went to college, and I was just it was the wrong direction for me. Yeah. I was learning all these accounting classes and basic oral communication, which now I use, but I didn't need. There were so many courses I was taking to begin my 4-year journey in business management that I didn't need. And I was failing. I was failing 4 out of 5 subjects. I did turn around my second semester of that first year and pull everything up to passing. And then I stopped going to college after just 1 year. So I dropped out. It was when I was 23 years old, 24 years old, that I decided I needed to go back for further education, and I did it right. So I focused on just what I needed to know, which was computers. Back then they called it electronics technology. But I focused on what I needed to know. And you're right, it was 18 months. What a different journey for me. A little older, a little more mature, already a college dropout. Because the second time around, folks, I was a 4.0 graduate, treasurer of the student body, then president of the student body. And I only missed 1 day of school when my son was born. So I would say, slow down, relax. You don't have to jump into college when you're 18.
Yep.
Right.
That is absolutely not the best course of action. Trust me. Just live life a little more. Try to get your feet under you and figure out what you want to do with your life. Maybe it's veterinary tech or nursing or technology, but focus on a trade-specific school and get that thing under your belt. Jump right out into the workforce, making good money. And I'm so glad I went back a second time around, but it was not a 4 or 6 or 8 year degree.
Wow.
What a difference.
What a difference. And you're hearing it from someone who's living it. And this is Tom Hogue. And again, Tom, I admire you. I can't believe you fell asleep in class, because meeting you, this guy's like the Energizer Bunny, right?
Right.
He's just like go, 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 and that's really good advice. And I think we should also talk a little bit about how the stigma, right, of not going to the 4-year university, it's not for everybody. You know, and today with COVID, you think about the money that you save, and as Tom mentioned, he went right from those courses right to work. You also, you were just moving into your new offices at Momentum when I visited. And what I found interesting is not only does Tom bring in externships, because that's also part of the program, but everywhere I looked, everybody I met, guess what they were? Guess.
A YTI grad.
A YTI grad.
There you go.
So what is it that you see in these people that you want to bring into your success?
I do hire YTI graduates. I start them as interns. And I'll tell you, I find hunger. So number one, the folks are usually career changers. Again, the best I find typically come from the service industry, which is funny. You know, might be a cook or a waiter or a waitress. But you're used to serving and the customer's always right. And then you say, I want to change my future. You go to a technical or trade school and you come out. So you have a focus towards people, and you're hungry. You really want to change your life. You work harder than others. And I will also say that they don't have the bad habits.
And Tom, when I was there, you did what you call a morning huddle?
Oh, our daily huddles.
Huddles. And you know, Tom had mentioned when we first brought him onto the program that he also owns a martial arts studio. How has your martial arts mentality and background played into your work environment and your culture in the office?
No, great. Well, I'll tell you what, Ann, martial arts teaches focus, discipline, and confidence. So you can do anything you put your mind to if you work hard at it. And so that just carries over into everything, and the discipline. So all of these little traits from one company to the next, they do carry over. I've learned that there's nothing I can't overcome.
Talk to our listeners a little bit about your involvement, you know, as a industry modeled subject matter expert, and the interplay between, you know, that experience and what you help bring to the school, so that we can help make our graduates the best they can be with the most relevant, you know, current information technology, those kinds of things.
Yeah, Jim. So technology changes so fast, right? And what you're teaching today may not be as relevant 6 months from now. Well, we're right on the front edge of that, right? We're implementing newest technology for our clients. We know what they need. And I can tell you, early in my career and entrepreneurship and getting back to Porter-Chester and YTI as an advisor, I did advise on technical curriculum and development and what they should change to. That's evolved for me over the years. As a CEO now, an entrepreneur, my job is more growth of the company, focused on marketing and hiring the right people, team building, culture. And so my role has shifted. I send Joe in, who's also a YTI graduate. Oh, by the way, he was stacking tables and chairs at an advisory panel after the students were done with their questions. And I saw this guy back here stacking tables and chairs. And
at YTI, he was stacking tables and chairs.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, all right, keep going.
Oh yeah. Well, here's what's funny, Ann. Okay, so I now serve on the advisory board, mostly for students who are considering entering the industry. What's it going to look like? So I'm more of a CEO level now, not a technical level. When I go in and I do my advisory board discussions, and that, and I'll tell you how I found my right hand man now, and it was it's how I find most of my interns and externs. I speak on the advisory panel, and then they approach me afterwards to ask all kinds of questions. And I like their hunger. I like the folks that ask good questions and pay attention, take great notes. But anyway, this particular individual, Joe, he was at all three of the panels. There was an AM one, there was a PM one, and then there was an evening session, each about an hour and a half long. And each time he would ask a question, and then he would go to stacking tables at the end and chairs. And I said, why is this guy in all three sessions? And why is he stacking tables? I actually thought he was a teacher. So I asked him what course he taught. And he said, no, he's in his second term. And I said, you're in your second term? And he was on the workforce. Right. I guess that's, and to help complement and pay for his schooling.
Right.
And I said, what? You're in your second term? I put him in an internship in his second term. I said, listen, I need you here even while you're going to school. And now he's well into six figures, and he leads my elevated company. But I believe that advising students and answering their good questions is a great way to find talent.
That's right. Well, Tom Hogue, I never say good luck. I always say continued success, because I think that's what it's all about. And again, as Jim mentioned, we appreciate you and all of your workers' relationship with both YTI and PCI, and thank you for sharing, your stories of really success and defeat, because that's what makes us all what we are today. And right. I really enjoyed this conversation.
Yeah, no, I think it's great to have this balanced approach where, I think everybody thinks it's always a straight line,
right.
From the lower left to the upper right.
Right.
And it's never
I
like
wish.
that. Yeah, it's never like that, right? It's
Nope.
it's a squiggly line that goes up and goes down, and there's lots of volatility.
Tom Hogue, again, thank you so much, and it was a pleasure meeting you. And I know that you've inspired who's ever watching, this particular podcast, and we want to invite people, whether you're a parent, grandparent, neighbor, whomever, if you're interested in any of the programs that are offered, you can go to yti.edu, or we also mentioned it's porterchester.edu. So those are the two websites to get more information, to get involved. And remember, the sky's the limit if you've got the drive. And I think, Tom Hogue, you made that very, very clear today. So thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me, folks.
All right. And thanks to all of you for tuning in to this edition of Inside Career Technical Education.